Did you know the real Rain Man wasn't named Raymond at all? His name was Kim Peek, and he could read 2 pages at a time, one with each eye, and remember almost everything he ever saw or heard. Like all of Shakespeare, every zip code in the United States, the entire telephone directory for Salt Lake City, by heart. Dustin Hoffman didn't just play an autistic savant. He spent over a year meeting people like Kim, watching, listening, and learning. He sat in libraries, he visited group homes, he even attended therapy sessions just to understand how someone like Raymond might hear the world. Too loud, too bright, too fast. And when the camera rolled, he didn't step into Raymond's shoes. He became him, breath by breath. You hear the piano music, see the old Cadillac rolling across the desert, feel Charlie's frustration and Raymond's quiet strength. And suddenly, something deep inside you shifts. A wall cracks. A heart opens. Let's dive in and discover 25 weird and amazing facts about Rain Man. Number 25. The title was almost Driving Raymond. Before it was Rain Man, the movie had 7 different titles. Brother Road, The Odd Couple, 2 Brothers and a Cadillac. But the early favorite? Driving Raymond. Simple, clear, focused on the journey. So why the change? Barry Levinson heard Hoffman humming the lullaby, Raymond Sings, Rain Man, take me by the hand, and asked, "What is that?" Hoffman explained. Kim Peek used to mishear Raymond as Rain Man as a child. It stuck. The team tested both titles with focus groups. Driving Raymond felt like a road trip. Rain Man? Instantly mysterious, poetic, tender. One woman said, "It sounds like a prayer." They changed it on a Monday morning, just 3 weeks before filming began. And just like that, a nickname became legend. It looked easy, but it was chaos. Number 24. The Cadillac was a rescue mission. The shiny cream-colored 1949 Cadillac wasn't rented. It wasn't bought from a studio lot. It was saved. A crew scout found it in a dusty garage in Pasadena, rusted fenders, flat tires, weeds growing through the floorboards. The owner, an elderly man named Frank, refused to sell. "She's not for sale," he'd say. "She's family." So Hoffman visited him, in character, soft voice, careful hands, and told Frank, "Raymond needs her. He only trusts old things, things that remember." Frank stared, then whispered, "My wife used to ride in that back seat." 2 days later, he handed over the keys. They rebuilt the engine, reupholstered the seats in exact period-correct leather, and even kept one original detail, a tiny dent on the left door, where Frank's daughter once bumped her bike. No fake nostalgia, only real history. Number 23. The airport carpet had to be exactly blue. Raymond hates yellow, bright lights, sudden noises, and certain colors. Early tests showed he'd shut down completely on orange or red flooring. So the art department tested 42 carpet swatches in a soundstage under the same lighting as Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport. They filmed Hoffman walking over each one. Only one shade of powder blue kept Raymond calm. Pantone 2905. They ordered 200 yards of it, enough to cover every airport scene, plus backups. When the real airport refused to let them rip out their green carpet, the crew built a fake terminal, just for one hallway. It cost $20,000. Hoffman walked it once, nodded, said, "Raymond says it's quiet here." What looked perfect on screen almost went wrong behind the camera. Number 22. Tom Cruise taught himself to stutter. Not for his own role, but for Raymond's. Wait, what? Yes. Hoffman worried Raymond's speech, precise, rhythmic, almost musical, might feel too smooth to audiences unfamiliar with savant speech patterns. So he asked Cruise, "Can you help me find the stutter and the calm?" For 2 weeks, they worked with a speech pathologist. Cruise practiced interrupting his own sentences on purpose to help Hoffman react in real time. In the scene where Charlie snaps, "Just say it," his frustration isn't scripted rage. It's the exhaustion of listening to someone almost reach a word and pull back. Cruise later said, "I learned more about patience from those stutters than from any meditation app. That wasn't acting. It was real listening." Number 21. The toothpick count. Was real math. Raymond instantly counts 246 toothpicks that spill on the diner floor and adds +4 dropped by the waitress. But here's the magic. The actual number on set? 246 exactly. The prop master counted them 3 times. But the waitress? She did drop 4 by accident on the very first take. The crew gasped. Hoffman didn't blink. He just said the line. Levinson whispered, "Keep rolling." They never reset the toothpicks. Every take used the same scattered pile, recounted, respilled, redropped. By day 3, the waitress could drop exactly 4 with her elbow. On cue. Not just acting, but real math. Number 20. Raymond's walk. Was a secret code. Dustin Hoffman didn't invent Raymond's stiff, careful walk on a whim. He studied a man named Peter Guthrie, who had cerebral palsy. Hoffman watched how Peter moved his arms, how his feet touched the ground, how his head stayed still while the world rushed by. He practiced that walk for hours, in parking lots, in hotel hallways, even in his backyard at midnight. One day, he walked so long without breaking character that his knees swelled and he needed ice packs. The crew thought he was joking until they saw him wince getting out of the car. What looked like a simple shuffle was actually a deep act of respect. It looked easy, but it was chaos. Number 19. The airplane panic was real. That terrifying scene where Raymond screams, "Crash, crash," and refuses to board the plane? That wasn't rehearsed panic. It was raw reaction. Hoffman didn't tell Tom Cruise the exact moment he'd start yelling. When the cue came, Cruise's shock was 100% real. His eyes widened, his hands trembled. He even stepped back, almost tripping over a cable. Director Barry Levinson kept the first take because no second try could match that honesty. Cruise later said, "I felt like I was failing my brother, and that hurt more than any stunt." That wasn't acting. It was real fear. Number 18. The toothbrush had its own trailer. Raymond's obsession with routines included brushing his teeth exactly 3 times a day, with the same toothbrush, same toothpaste, same 32 strokes. But here's the twist. The prop department made 12 identical toothbrushes and stored them in a locked case labeled Raymond's Routine. If one bristle bent, trash it. New one. They even filmed a backup scene where Raymond counts the bristles, cut from the final movie, but real enough that Hoffman actually counted each time. No fake routines, only real obsession. Number 17. The pancakes were cold. Every time in the diner scene, Raymond orders 4 pancakes, not 5, with syrup on the side, never on top. But here's what you didn't see. The pancakes were cold in every single take. Why? Because hot syrup would melt too fast, and Raymond had to push it off with his fork. Just so. So the chef made batch after batch, let them cool on trays, and handed them over like sacred relics. Hoffman ate 27 cold pancakes over 3 days. By the end, he said, "I dreamt in syrup patterns." What looked perfect on screen almost went wrong behind the camera. Number 16. The twins were never together. Believe it or not, Charlie and Raymond Babbitt were never played by actors in the same room for half the film. Because of tight schedules, Hoffman and Cruise often filmed their scenes weeks apart, reacting to stand-ins or tennis balls on sticks. In the car scenes, sometimes it was just Hoffman talking to an empty passenger seat, and Cruise would record his lines later, matching tone and timing like a duet. The magic was stitched together, frame by frame, not just acting, pure trust. Number 15, the Who's on First scene broke the script. The Abbott and Costello routine wasn't in the original script. It was added after filming began because Hoffman noticed Raymond lit up whenever he heard old comedy records. So he asked, what if Raymond knows every word of Who's on First by heart? The writers scrambled overnight, and the next day Hoffman and Cruise ran the routine. Live, no teleprompter. Cruise forgot a line. Hoffman didn't. He kept going, perfectly, while Cruise fumbled, laughed, and finally cried. That take made the film. It looked easy, but it was chaos. Number 14. The hotel room was honest, soundproofed with blankets. Raymond needed silence, real silence. So for his hotel scenes, the crew covered the walls with moving blankets, stuffed towels under doors, and turned off the building's HVAC system for hours. One night, a fire alarm test went off, silent on set, but Hoffman still flinched and dropped his script. He'd trained himself so deeply into Raymond's senses that unexpected noise, even imagined, triggered real stress. The crew apologized for an hour. Hoffman just whispered, "Raymond says thank you for trying." That wasn't acting, it was real fear. Number 13. The license plate was a love letter. Look closely at the Cadillac's license plate. Babbitt 2. Not Babbitt 1, because Charlie always felt second best. The writers added that tiny detail after Hoffman suggested, what if the car knows? They ordered a custom plate, installed it quietly, and never mentioned it in the script. Only eagle-eyed fans spotted it, and when they did, they cried. One viewer wrote, "I named my son Babbitt, not after Charlie, after the hope in that plate." What looked perfect on screen almost went wrong behind the camera. Number 12. Raymond's birthday is real. Raymond's birthday, October 26th, wasn't made up. It's the real birthday of Kim Peek, the man who inspired him. The crew celebrated it on set with a tiny cake, no frosting, Raymond hates sticky things, and a single candle. Hoffman sang "Happy Birthday" in Raymond's flat, careful tone. Kim, watching from his home in Utah, saw the scene later and smiled for 3 full minutes, his longest smile ever recorded. Old tools, new magic. Number 11. The phone booth scene was shot in one take. When Raymond recites the phone book from memory, 30 seconds, no cuts, that was one single take. Hoffman memorized over 200 names and numbers, not just for that scene, but for backup scenes they never used. If the camera had slipped, they'd have had to restart the entire sequence. Everyone held their breath. The boom mic operator later said his hands shook so badly he had to tape his fingers to the pole. It looked calm. Was pure chaos. Number 10. The shoes were too tight. On purpose. Raymond hates being touched, but he adores his shoes. So Hoffman insisted they be slightly too small, just enough to make him walk with that careful toe-lifted step. After 12 hours, his feet blistered. He refused to change them. Instead, he soaked them in ice water between takes and whispered, "Raymond wouldn't complain, so I won't." By day 5, the crew left a pair of soft slippers outside his trailer with a note, "For Dustin, not Raymond." That wasn't acting. It was real pain. Number 9. The rain scene was filmed in a dust storm. The final scene, Raymond at the institution, waving goodbye as raindrops fall, wasn't filmed in rain. It was shot in a dust storm in Oklahoma. The rain was mist sprayed from hoses, backlit to look like soft drops. But the wind kept blowing grit into the lenses and into Hoffman's eyes. He blinked once in the final shot. The team begged to reshoot. Hoffman said no. Raymond wouldn't blink twice. Neither will I. What looked perfect on screen almost went wrong behind the camera. Number 8. Tom Cruise learned to count cards for real. To make Charlie's Vegas scenes believable, Cruise spent 3 weeks with real card counters in Las Vegas. He learned to track aces, calculate odds, and spot dealer tells. In one take, he actually won $300, not fake chips, real money, and handed it to the pit boss, saying, "Keep it, Charlie's learning." The casino let him keep filming, on one condition: he never played for real again. Not just acting, but real skill. Number 7. Raymond's sunglasses. Were a gift. The iconic dark glasses? Not a prop choice. They belonged to Kim Peek. When Hoffman visited him, Kim handed them over and said, "Raymond needs them more than me." Hoffman wore them every day on set, even indoors, just to feel closer to the truth. On the last day, he mailed them back with a note. "They saw kindness. Thank you." Kim never took them off again. It looked easy, but it was chaos. Number 6. The script changed every morning. Barry Levinson rewrote pages overnight, based on what Hoffman and Cruise discovered that day. If Raymond reacted strangely to a coffee cup, new line by dawn. If Charlie's anger felt too sharp, softer words by breakfast. The script became a living thing, growing like a plant in sunlight. One morning, Hoffman found a new page slipped under his door. Just 3 words. He remembers her. Their mother. He cried before coffee. That wasn't acting. It was real discovery. Number 5. The train set. Was real and broken Raymond's beloved train? A 1920s Lionel set. Real, rare, worth over $10,000. But on day 2, a grip tripped, and the engine shattered on concrete. The prop master panicked. Hoffman said, "Buy another." They couldn't. Only 3 existed. So they glued it back together, painted over the cracks, and filmed only from angles that hid the damage. In the final scene, when Raymond touches it gently, his finger rests right on the fracture. What looked perfect on screen almost went wrong behind the camera. Number 4. The final line was whispered off camera. Raymond's last words, "I'm an excellent driver," weren't scripted. After cut, Hoffman stayed in character, turned to Cruise, and said it quietly, almost to himself. Levinson yelled, "Roll sound," and grabbed a handheld camera. They got it in one take. Cruise's smile? Unrehearsed. His tear? Real. The crew didn't clap. They hugged, not just acting, but real hope. Number 3. The Oscar speech was rewritten. Mid-ceremony. When Hoffman won Best Actor, he threw away his written speech. Instead, he walked to the mic and said, "This is for Kim Peek and everyone who sees the world differently and teaches us to see better." Kim watched at home. His father said he clapped once, then went back to his book. But later he asked, "Did Dustin smile?" "Yes, Kim, he smiled for both of you." It looked easy, but it was chaos. Number 2. The real Kim saw the film. Twice. Kim Peek watched Rainman not once, but twice, a huge deal, since he rarely watched anything twice. The second time, he paused it during the farmhouse scene and said, "Raymond's happy here, like me." His father asked, "Do you wish you were Raymond?" Kim thought, then said, "No, I wish he were me." That wasn't acting, it was real connection. Number 1. The hand on the shoulder. Unscripted, unbroken. In the final hug, when Charlie puts his hand on Raymond's shoulder, that wasn't in the script. Cruise just did it, and Hoffman, still in character, leaned into it. For 8 seconds, no words, just breath and touch. Levinson didn't yell, "Cut." He let the camera roll. In the dailies, the editor wept. That single gesture became the heart of the film, not because it was planned, but because it was true. What looked perfect on screen almost went wrong behind the camera. Bonus fact. Here's a secret no DVD menu will tell you. The entire film was edited in silence for the first rough cut. Why? because Levinson wanted to see the emotions, feel the pauses, before adding music. For 3 weeks, the team watched Charlie's rage, Raymond's stillness, the desert highway, the Vegas lights, all in total quiet. Hoffman came in one night, sat in the dark, and watched the farmhouse scene without sound. Afterward, he whispered, "You can hear love in the silence between blinks." They kept one scene silent in the final film, the moment Raymond counts the toothpicks. No music, no dialogue, just click, 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 and the world holding its breath. But there's more. Deep in the Warner Brothers vault sits a lost scene, never shown, never released. It's only 90 seconds long. Raymond and Charlie sit on the porch at sunset. No words. Raymond rocks slightly. Charlie watches fireflies blink on and off. Then Raymond says softly, "They count too." Charlie asks, "Who?" Raymond points, "The lights. 1, 2, 3. The fireflies pulse, exactly in time. The crew filmed it with real bioluminescent insects imported from Tennessee. They released them after. Hoffman refused to reshoot, even when one landed on his eyelid, and stayed for 20 seconds. He didn't blink, didn't flinch, just kept counting in his head. The scene was cut for pacing, but Hoffman fought for one frame to stay, the firefly on his face, glowing like a tiny star. Look closely in the final montage, just before the credits, that one blink of light. That's it. That's the ghost of the lost scene. One small choice changed movie history. Outro. You know, Rainman didn't just win 4 Oscars. It changed how schools taught about autism. It led to new therapies. It made families hug a little tighter, listen a little longer. Because at its heart, this movie isn't about genius or money or even a road trip across America. It's about seeing someone, truly seeing them, not as a problem to fix, not as a puzzle to solve, but as a person, with their own rhythm, their own light, their own way of loving the world. Raymond didn't need to change. Charlie did, and maybe so did we. Every time someone watches this film and says, "Oh, that's how it feels," a little more kindness enters the world. That's the real magic, not in the Oscars on the shelf, but in the quiet moment when a brother finally holds the hand he spent a lifetime pushing away. If you enjoyed these stories, subscribe for more. Hit the bell so you never miss a secret, because every movie, from Toy Story to The Godfather, hides a truth, a struggle, a miracle behind the screen. And we'll keep uncovering them, one story at a time, not for clicks, not for views, but because stories remind us we're not alone. And sometimes, the most extraordinary people are the ones who count the toothpicks while the world rushes by.